are you concerned about your kiddo and their speech and language development? You know, normally when we think about language development, we look at how many words they're producing. But today, I'm going to talk about another really important thing, and that's how well they are or are not understanding our directions. We're going to be talking about following directions coming up. Welcome back, Lingo Troop. It's great to be back with you. We've missed a couple weeks, and I apologize for that. Our motto here at Lingo is where language comes to life, and sometimes life just comes to life, right? And things just get crazy. And as you know, I'm a speech pathologist, and I have a clinic, and things have been kind of ramped up in the clinic, and that's kind of taken some time away, but hopefully it's given you a chance to go back and watch some of our previous videos that we've done over the last few months. And if you miss a week, that's a great time to take an excuse to go back and watch a video that you haven't seen. So today, as I said, we are going to be talking about receptive language, or that understanding of language. As I mentioned in the intro, a lot of times when we think about language development, and if you Google, developmental milestones for language, oftentimes it brings up kind of these benchmarks regarding how many words they should have at a year or 18 months or 2 years of age. And they gauge whether or not your child is on track based on how many words they're saying. And yes, while that's important, and that's a huge piece of the puzzle, that's not the only concern. And I would argue that we need to also be looking at, also tracking how well your child is understanding the language that we're putting out to them, how well they are understanding directions that we are giving. Are they following directions? Are they following commands? Those are really good questions that we need to be asking as parents as we're gauging their language development. So we're going to be talking about that today. I'm going to be giving you 3 ideas to think about as you look at your child and kind of gauge, kind of diagnostically, kind of figuring out what are they doing? How well are they understanding you? So 3 things to think about in that realm, and then 3 strategies that you can incorporate to help increase their understanding of language. All right, are you ready for this? I'm excited. Let's get to it. The first thing you're going to want to remember is that it's oftentimes not the object labels that your child's going to have difficulty with. You know, if I give my kiddo a direction to, hey, get your shoes, I think they're under the couch, right? There's a good chance my child heard shoes and he heard couch. And that's about as far as we got, right? So he's got something, he's by the couch and he may be looking for his shoes, but he missed that one little important piece, that they're under the couch, right? That connectivity piece, that connector. And that's what I want to reiterate. That's the first thing we need to think about, is that the objects, we got it. But beyond that, those extra connectors that we're using, that's typically where the breakdown occurs. Okay, so along those lines, the second thing you want to think about is, what are those connectors, right? What are those pieces? What are those language concepts around the objects that your child may or may not be missing out on? Okay, I mentioned location concepts. It's under the couch. If you go back to 7th or 8th grade English class, where you learned about those prepositions, you may have heard a song. I think there's according to something, there was a song I learned. I don't remember it now, of course, but there's a song. If you Google preposition songs, I like to think about it as anywhere a mouse could go, right? Where would a mouse go? He'd go in, on, under, around, in front of, behind, right? Anywhere a mouse could go. Those are the locations that we want to teach our children, model for our children, and we want to diagnostically see, does our child understand these concepts? If I say they're under the couch, is my child looking under the couch? If I say, oh, it's behind the bookshelf, is he going and like peering behind the bookshelf, right? That's going to give you an indicator whether or not he or she is understanding those location concepts. So location. The next one is number, quantity, right? If I say, bring me 3 or bring me 2, right? Or how do you determine whether or not they're understanding concepts like more or most or few, right? So all of these concepts that we use, these words that we use to indicate number or quantity, sometimes are a breakdown for our kiddo. The next one would be sequence, right? So the order of events, the sequence of events that we do first and then this or next and last, or, hey, go get this and then bring it to me, right? There's a sequence there. There was a first and a next. There was a do this before you do that, right? That's a sequence concept. And oftentimes that's where we see the breakdown is in the order of operation, or the order in which they were supposed to carry out a specific task. Similar to that concept, but different, is this idea of temporal cues, right? And that means the time and space. Before you do this, or after you do that, do this. It's similar to sequence, but it has more just overall time, right? The time that they're supposed to do this, more so than first, next, then, finally, and this more of a sequence. So these are tricky. Sequence and temporal cues are tricky. There's some crossover there, and that's okay. But again, trying to tweeze out whether or not our kiddo is understanding these thoughts of time, these thoughts of when I do this, then you do that, right? There's a time marker there that you need to wait for me to do this, and then you do that, right? And so those temporal cues are important, and very often a time that we see breakdown in our kiddos when it comes to following directions. The next area of connectors would be describers or attributes. We think about this again, going back to grammar class, adjectives. The way we talk about things, we may talk about their color. The blue one, bring the blue one to me. Well, what does that mean? If I don't understand blue, if I don't understand that attribute or that characteristic, or how you're describing that object, I might not know what that means. Another connector is this idea of size or dimension. The big one, the little one, right? Bring me that huge thing. We use so many of these descriptors or attributes to talk about objects and to give commands to our kiddos. So when we say the big cup, they get cup, they understand what a cup is, they have their cup, and they're pretty wedded to the one maybe sippy cup that they love to use. But when you throw out the big cup, we lost them, right? We lost them. They missed big, and that meaning and how to differentiate big cup and how that differs from their cup that they know and love. Another thing you might want to talk about or think about in terms of these connectors is the idea of inclusion and exclusion, right? When you say, bring me both of your shoes, right? So both. That means that one and that one. I want both of them, right? That's very different. And again, they get shoe or shoes, and they may bring you a shoe, but they miss the connector that, oh, you wanted both of them, right? Or bring me this and that. Or connectors of exclusion, right? I want all of them except that, right? Bring me this and that, but not that. So ways that we talk about and give directions that include these ideas of inclusion and ideas of exclusion. And then third, you're just going to want to think about the complexity of the directions that your child is or is not following. Can they handle a one-step direction? Bring me your shoes, right? That's a one-step direction. Or if I say a two-step direction, get your shoes and put them on the table. Okay, so now that was a one-step, get your shoes, and a two-step, put them on the table. So again, the complexity just increased, and I probably, as mama, didn't really even think about it, right? But that's a two-step direction. A third step direction would be, get your shoes, bring them to me, and let's go to the car, right? So that was another element, a third element that I added on, and I increased the complexity. So you as mama, you as daddy, your job is to you're the investigator. You've got to figure out, where's the breakdown? How do they do with the one-step directions? Are they getting it pretty consistently? Awesome. If so, what about a two-step direction? Are they getting those? If not, where's the breakdown? Right? If they're getting those two steps, what about the three-step directions? Where do we lose them? And what are the connectors involved as we are losing them? And that's going to bring a whole lot of information and shed a whole lot of light on the strategies that we're going to use and how to better help them follow these directions and increase their ability to follow directions as they increase in complexity. Okay, so we've talked about those three ideas that you need to keep in mind. The fact that it's not just the objects, the fact that these connectors, and we listed them all out, these connectors are hugely important. And then also kind of gauging where's the breakdown, whether it's one-step or two-step or three-step directions. So now we're going to talk about some strategies. I'm going to teach you 3 simple strategies that you can incorporate to help your child increase their understanding of directions that you're giving. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do, you're going to want to think about making your directions very clear and very concise. And think about your speed and your complexity that you're using as you're giving directions, right? By no means am I saying you need to be robotic and very stilted. And, sometimes I think as parents, we think, oh, well, we need to use 1-word commands or 2, shoes on. And that's not necessarily the case. But I think sometimes we, in our going on, right, we're bebopping through life and we think of, okay, I got to get in the car, right? And we're already 4 steps down the road trying to communicate our kids, get your shoes on, get your shoes, get them on, get your lunch, get out the door. And oftentimes we don't think about the speed we're using. We don't think about the complexity of language that we're using. And oftentimes our kiddo is standing there thinking, what? I got shoes, and that's as far as he got. So think about your complexity. Think about the speed at which you're delivering these directions. Take a deep breath, slow it down, and communicate clearly in a way. Go back to that diagnostic evaluation, the assessment that you did. If your kiddo's really good at one-step directions, then you're going to want to stay there. If it's important and you're wanting to get out the door, you're going to want to focus on one-step directions, right? Maybe you save the two-step directions for a more relaxed time when you've got all the time in the world, or you're just chilling on a Saturday and you've got time to spare. That's when you work on the two-step. But if it's really hitting the fan and you need to move and get out the door, then you need to focus on the one-step directions. Does this make sense? I hope so. You want to live where things are good and where the kiddo's getting it, and save those times to try to work on it and move them forward for a more neutral time or a more relaxed time when you have more time to devote to just teaching them the concept rather than no, it's mission critical. He needs to understand this and get a move on. Okay, so I hope that's clear. If you guys, as always, if you have questions, message me on our Facebook group or put your questions down in the comments below and we can dig deeper into this. Okay, so that's the first strategy. Just think about your complexity, think about your overall language that you're using and the speed at which you're throwing out these directions. The second idea is that you're going to want to think about going from the whole to the part to the whole. Okay, if I tell my kiddo, go get your shoes, I think they're under the couch. I'm going to want to break that down, again, thinking about what's missing, or what did my child miss. They probably got shoes, they probably got couch. Chances are good they missed the under piece, right? So I'm going to go from the whole, hey, go get your shoes, I think they're under the couch. Look, come here, come with mama. Under. They're under the couch, and I lift up the couch and I show them under, and I teach them that part, right? Outside, I take it out of the whole, the direction that I gave, then I take this individual little part, I teach that as a teaching moment, and then, oh, your shoes, look, we found them. They were under the couch. Yeah, Mama said, go get your shoes. They're under the couch. Here they are. We found them, right? So you're going from this direction, this more complex direction, tweezing out the difficult part, that connector piece, but then you're putting it back into the command or to the direction as a whole so that your child continues to hear it within the context of the longer sentence. Okay, so the third thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to build understanding or build comprehension across environments. Okay, so as you're kind of diagnostically, you're watching your kiddo, where's the breakdown? What's hard for her? Oh, location concepts. That's really hard for my daughter. So I'm going to start focusing on, take a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, whatever, maybe June, July, the month of locations. And you're going to do it here, there, and everywhere. You're going to talk about location concepts while you're playing. You're going to talk about location concepts while you're getting dressed. You're going to talk about these same location concepts while you're making pancakes on a Saturday morning. Whatever it is, right? Where language comes to life, you're going to bring those concepts not just in one context of we're playing and or we're looking for our shoes and they're under the couch. Okay, well, yep, that's one place. But where does under show up at bath time? Where does under show up when we're getting dressed in the morning? Where does under show up as I'm making breakfast? Right? So teaching those concepts here, there, and everywhere. And that will build what we call saliency, right? It's going to be more understandable across environments. And I think you'll be amazed at how quickly your child learns that concept because he's seeing it here, there, and everywhere. Okay, so guys, I hope this is helpful. Again, just these ideas of making your directions clear and concise, taking it from the whole to the part to the whole, and breaking it down and creating a teaching moment for your kiddo. And then also to reiterate that concept across environments so they start to learn this concept that it's not just isolated to this one event, but it's a concept that they're seeing everywhere they look. So I hope this is helpful. You guys, as always, find our Facebook page. You're going to want to follow us on Twitter if you're not already. At Lingo is the Twitter name there. If you haven't already, click here to subscribe to this channel, and then you're going to want to check out this video as well. And I'll see you here next time at Lingo, where language comes to life.